Joining me now is Paul Theron, a giggling Paul Theron from Vestag. Thank you so much, Paul.
Fun, you know.
Research in motion plummeting 20% as we speak.
Damn, like how did that happen? Yes.
I thought everyone wanted blackberries, have blackberries, and aspired to have blackberries.
Yes, so just for those who are not paying attention, Research in Motion, Canadian company, owns the BlackBerry. They were, of course, the toast of the town globally, especially in America, where everybody was using what they used to call crackberries, you know, because people were so addicted to them they couldn't put them down. The place where they've been most successful is in markets like ours, which have very high call charges and very high charges for SMSs. So young people like you have BlackBerries because you can send messages to your girlfriends.
I don't have a BlackBerry.
Yeah, sure.
I do, actually.
And now, bam, crash. But now, just to put in perspective the enormousness of this disaster is that RIM traded at $145 a share in June 2008, not so long ago.
I saw it now, $24.
Exactly, and down 20% today because they had yet another earnings disappointment last night. I've got a friend who's based in the US who was tuning into the earnings call, and apparently it was just so depressing. They couldn't even like make any disparaging comments. It was just like, okay guys, okay.
Is this not an opportunity to buy Research in Motion, given the fact that it's offering so much value right now?
No, I'm
or is this
afraid
a value trap? Is this what you call a value trap?
These guys are permanently behind the curve. Sorry, that's
But it's a
weak.
bold move that they've made.
Yeah, very good. Nailed it. No, I think it's over. And in fact, you know, the only phone to have these days is an iPhone, and you can get that WhatsApp
You've got an
thing.
iPhone, I'm sure. This is
you
why
want
you're
to
punching
talk
it.
to your teenage, you know, people. You can use WhatsApp. It's also free, and you can do the instant messaging thing. Now, I'm afraid, look, you know, there are of course times, and then of course they've had these issues with security because the BBM things are encrypted and so on and so forth. So I think this is definitely a case where people are going to hang in there, but they will battle. And you know, it's the same as Nokia. Once you've lost your mojo in the mobile phone business, it's not so easy to get it back.
So I should get what now?
Well, I don't think you should buy the RIM shares, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You can keep the phone, it's fine.
You'll advise me on my next phone. So the rogue trader, you've been doing some investigating for us, and you've got a name for us.
Well, look, you know, this is CNBC Africa, so I think we've got to talk about African success stories. If you look at the biggest losses sustained by traders in all of memory, you start talking about Jerome Kerviel, $6 billion. Then there was Brian Hunter, the Canadian gas trader, who blew about $7 billion. Look, the main guy on the tables is still got to be Bernie Madoff, who I think evaporated about $50 billion. But you know, this is Kweku Adeboli, he's Ghanaian extract. So, you know, an African is now on the league tables in terms of the big losses. The guy blew up about $2 billion, so it's a good start. He apparently lost the money trading the Swiss franc, you know, with that thing. They were caught long. You know, he worked in the back office. That's always the key. It's the guys who work in the back office. Those are the dirty ones you've got to watch out for.
How do you get access to $2 billion and not have that
exactly.
stamp of approval? And how does it go through? This
and UBS, his employer, big Swiss bank, you know, wrote off $50 billion worth of bum debt with that subprime disaster back in 2008. And they promised the people who recapitalized the bank that risk controls were now going to be bulletproof. And here you've got a guy, apparently he reported the problem to his employers in the middle of the night on Thursday. He phoned them up and said, guys, I think there's a problem here. You know, maybe we should be looking at this. You know, if he hadn't, goodness knows, by now they might have been sitting with a $4 billion loss. It boggles the mind.
You've got on your notes here Madeira. Were you meant to say Athens by any chance? Why Madeira? Portugal,
Madeira, yes. Now, not everybody knows a lot about Madeira. It's a little island off of the Portuguese coast out into the Atlantic. But believe it or not, speaking of holes in the balance sheet, it's been also come to the attention of regulators in the last few hours that Madeira has an extra 1 billion euros of debt which nobody knew about and which hadn't been properly accounted for. So
1 billion euros of debt.
Exactly. So I don't even know how Madeira gets to have any debt of its own, because it's like an autonomous country. Yeah. Their economy consists entirely of tourism and, like, you know, sort of restaurants. But somehow or other they had an extra $1 billion worth of debt. So obviously the finance minister in Madeira has been spending too much time in his deck chair and not enough time looking at the Excel spreadsheet. But this is an extra problem now for Portugal, because, you know, Portugal is not exactly in a fabulous situation right now. So you know, the moral of the story is there's somebody out there who's having a worse weekend than you are.